We are live. Hey, how are you doing? Lee Hayward here with the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video Q&A for Friday, August the 18th. So I want to welcome you, and the way these video chats work is I'm going to be hanging out here for the next hour, answering questions and topics of discussion related to fitness and nutrition, building muscle, losing fat, getting in shape, any specific challenges that you may have with regards to your workouts, with your eating plan, or anything along those lines. Feel free to type those questions and topics of discussion into our video chat, and I'll do the best that I can to help you out. All right, let's see. This is coming through loud and clear, I hope. If it is, please type into the chat window. I know I just went live, so people are popping on the live stream right now. I'm seeing the numbers pop, 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 pop. Good stuff. If you can hear me, if you can see me, if this is coming through loud and clear on your end, just let me know in the chat window there. Just type in loud and clear if it is coming through. Thank you, Dan. Much appreciated. We have Cool Gamer joining in. Hello. We have Mick joining in loud and clear. Thank you much. Appreciate it. Good stuff. All right. That just lets me know it's working fine on my end. All right. Because I have had it happen before where whatever, the mic's not working or something, you know, some little connection, and I start yattling and talking, and next thing you know, I went 5 minutes with a talking head with no audio, right? That's no good for anybody. All right, there we go. Good stuff, good stuff. All right, so for those of you who are brand new to our video chat, I want to welcome you. It's always nice to have new people joining in. And if you're not familiar with me, I am Lee Hayward. I've been around the online fitness game for quite a while. I actually started my very first website back in the late 90s. In fact, the very first one I started was in 1997. Right? So to put things in perspective, the internet as we know it only became legal in 1996. So right from the start, I was one of the first bodybuilding and fitness websites to ever be on the internet. Was Lee Hayward's Total Fitness Bodybuilding. And since then, I put up a lot of content through that website. When YouTube started, launched the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel, and over the years have helped thousands of people throughout the world with their fitness and nutrition, building muscle, losing fat, and all that stuff. And my content that I've shared online has always modeled my own fitness journey. Like when I started back in the late 90s, that's when I competed in bodybuilding. Like I started competing in 1995. So the first content that I put online was bodybuilding content related to novice bodybuilders. And I actually published a book. It was called Your First Bodybuilding Competition. Then I put that out there. But it was always sharing my own journey. And then as I got involved with powerlifting, you know, throughout the mid 2000s, I started putting up some more powerlifting related content. And then now that I'm older, you know, father, went through the ups and downs and have had a dad bod, you know, after I became a father and I kind of let my health and fitness go, got out of shape and then got back in shape. That's what led to the whole creation of the Muscle After 40 blueprint. So it's like if you go back throughout the old videos of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel, and they're all there, right from the start, you can see the evolution, right, from the bodybuilding, the powerlifting, going through that journey, and now we're transitioning into the Muscle After 40. So I tend to focus more on guys in their 40s, 50s, and beyond, because that's where I'm at in my stage of my fitness journey now, and I kind of like to share that with you. So if you're in your 40s and beyond, you're definitely in the right place. But even if you're a younger guy, I can still relate, because I started working out back when I was 12, and I went through my whole teenage years, my 20s and 30s. So even if you're younger, I can still help, and I can relate to the challenges that you're going through, right? The challenges of being a skinny guy who's trying to bulk up and gain weight, then figuring out how to bulk up and gain weight and gain the wrong kind of weight and have to lose all that stubborn body fat and get back in shape, and then going through that whole transition of raising a family and having to squeeze in time to work out when you're not the top priority anymore, right? You got family and responsibilities and career and kids and all that stuff, and you got to kind of squeeze in time for your own personal fitness in amongst the chaos of real life. And that's the challenge that I'm at right now. And I know a lot of you are probably in a similar situation as well, especially if you're following along with my content. All right, so I just wanted to kind of give you a little background there. And for those of you who are tuning in live, this is your chance to get your questions answered or anything that you would like to discuss, right? We have the next hour to kind of sit back and shoot the breeze. So if there's anything that you would like to have covered, feel free to type those questions and topics of discussion into the chat window. And we're streaming from YouTube as well as the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook page. So wherever you're watching from, if you're on YouTube, it's going to be a chat window to the side. If you're on Facebook, it'll be the comments below the video. But wherever you're posting, it doesn't matter because I'll be able to see it on my end. So feel free to chime in and post away. So let's see. Who do we have joining in? And let's see. Eagle Eye John is a regular. Lee, is it right that the more you weigh, is that right? More you weigh, more you can lift. Generally, there is some truth to it, but there's always exceptions. Like if it's muscular weight, yeah, that's certainly going to help you when it comes to increasing your strength and the amount of weight you can lift. Like you look at power lifters and strongman competitors and heavyweight bodybuilders, generally speaking, the bigger guys, especially if it's big and muscular, the stronger they are. Now, there's always exceptions to the rule. Sometimes you'll see some smaller guys who are super strong. Sometimes you'll see some big guys who are not that strong. Right? There's a lot of variables that go into it. And I actually posted a new video today up on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. It's called Pull-Ups versus Pull-Downs. And the topic of that video was actually posted from one of our members. Steve Mercer shared this or asked the question, and I made the video in response to his question. He wanted to know, why is it that we see a lot of big guys doing pull downs versus pull ups? And he said, like, if they're big and muscular, shouldn't they be strong enough to do pull ups? And I break it down into that video and explain the truth behind it, because when it comes to body weight exercises, being bigger is not advantageous. Right? Even though they could be big and muscular and strong in certain exercises, especially body weight exercises, that can actually hold you back. So there's a lot to unpack with that, right? It's not as cut and dry as the more muscle you have, the stronger you are, and the more weight you're going to lift. There's a lot of, you got to put it into context. But when it comes to just sheer power, generally speaking, the bigger and the more muscular, the better when it comes to moving more weight. But there's always exceptions to the rule. Let's put it that way. Where else we got there? We have YouTube videos joining us. Hey, laddie. Hey, ladda, my G lad broski. Well said. Right? You get an A for your grammar right there. Bruce is a member of the Muscle After 40 VIP coaching group, saying double duty going through drawings and emails while I listen along live. Well, I'm glad you're not missing out. Glad to have you joining in, Bruce. And we have Robert, a regular to our video chats as well. Says, hello, Lee. I'm in my 70s and I would like to bench press my body weight. Is that a realistic goal? I don't know. I really don't know. And it's not so much your age, even though obviously that is a limiting factor. You know, the older you are, the harder it is to gain muscle and strength because your body isn't the same as it was when it was younger, right? The older you are, the more you have to respect your body. And 70s, you know, you're getting up into the top of your lifting years in terms of progressive building muscle. Like at most guys, when they're in their 70s, it's kind of to try and reverse the effects of aging, reverse sarcopenia, which is age-related muscle loss. It's kind of maintain their strength and mobility and to improve the quality of their life. That's what most guys in their 70s are focusing on. But can you still make progress and get stronger in your 70s? It is possible, but it's not the same as someone who's younger. Like if you were in your 30s, 40s, 50s even, yeah, I would say absolutely. You know, it's certainly possible to make progress in those years. As you're getting 60s, 70s, now, you know, it's every little bit you gain is a victory, right? Even if you maintain, that is a victory, right? So gaining on top of that, you know, it's going to be challenging, right? And just being honest, right? I'm not going to sugarcoat it, right? Just being honest. But with that being said, there's one guy I wanted to address here. His name is Norman, and he is a member of our Muscle After 40 Blueprint program. He's been a member for a couple of years now. And he's making some crazy progress, and he's holding his own with some of the younger guys, and he actually does CrossFit. He's a part of a CrossFit gym. So he holds his own with a lot of these guys. And, like, you know, when they're doing their CrossFit competitions, which I'm not going to get into the debate of whether CrossFit is good or bad or whatever. I mean, it works for some people. But when they get into the as many reps as possible type of competitions where they're always pushing themselves, I mean, he is up there. Like, he's kicking some ass, even in his 70s, which is impressive, right? So, I mean, you can still make gains in your 70s, assuming that you don't have anything that's holding you back. Like if injuries, aches and pains, and arthritis, tendonitis, all that kind of stuff, you gotta factor that in there as well. Because when you're pushing body weight bench press, heavy bench presses, there's a lot of stress on the shoulders, a lot of stress on the elbows. The muscles are more prone to tearing and getting injured, right? You got to factor that in there. And I'm just going to caution you on progress gradually and redefine your definition of intensity. It's okay to stop a set short of failure, right? You don't have to go in there and grind it out to the point where you're doing a bench press and you're struggling to rack, you know, to rep out that last rep and rack the weight. It's okay to complete your set with good form and rack the weight knowing, you know what, I got another rep in the tank, but for safety's sake, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to end this. I'm going to stop the set short of failure, live to lift another day, and remain injury-free. You have to make that decision more often the older you get, right? When you're younger and the joints are healthy and mobile and everything's working properly, you'll see guys grinding it out, pushing to failure and beyond, forced reps and you know, all that kind of stuff, and getting away with it for a while. But that level of intensity catches up with you, right? It catches up with everybody, because virtually everybody who's been training with that kind of intensity for any length of time and has the years of experience to show for it also has the injuries to show for it, right? I'll give you some prime examples. Like, go watch videos of Ronnie Coleman, modern day Ronnie Coleman, right? He's been through the meat grinder with his injuries, and he's not even able to walk anymore. He's been through that many injuries. Former Olympia Dorian Yates, also known for his high intensity training. He's been through the meat grinder with injuries, right? Like shoulder and rotator cuff and blah, blah, blah. And so the older you get, you can't go pushing your body to the limit, right? So you have to be respectful. And that's where you really gotta, it's like walking that tightrope, right? Yes, you want to push yourself and make progress, but more importantly, you don't want to injure yourself. And because the only thing that's going to set you back with your workouts is getting injured. Like, if you do an easy workout, big deal. You can still go back to the gym the next day and work out again. You can still be good enough consistently and make progress. Even if you skip a workout, big deal, because, you know, you can pick it up and go to the gym the next day. Like, a skipping workout in the greater scheme of things, as long as this just happens infrequently, it's not something you're skipping them all the time. But if you skip the occasional workout, big deal. You can always go to the gym the next day and make up for it. With your diet, even if you cheat on your diet, big deal. You can clean it up the next day. But if you get injured, right, you're not just jumping back the next day. Depending on the degree of that injury, you could be laid up for weeks, for months, or God knows how long. In some cases, you may never fully recover. So staying injury-free and doing whatever you can to minimize that risk of injury is of utmost importance. That is top priority, especially as a master's lifter, you know, someone who's in their senior years. That takes priority over anything. Injury prevention over intensity. So focus on that, and you will actually have a better chance at actually achieving your goal versus if you go in there and kind of throwing caution to the wind and trying to push heavy weight, because it's only going to be a matter of time before that heavy weight catches up and, you know, the shit hits the fan and something gets injured. And then your goal of ever bench pressing body weight is probably going to be gone for good. And even just living a normal life without pain is probably going to be gone as well. So injury prevention is top priority. But, you know, still strive for it, but realize it's going to be a slow process. And when you're trying to make those gains in the bench press, 5-pound jumps, 5 pounds is a win. Like extra 5 pounds, an extra repetition. It's those little itty bitty bits of progress that's going to compound. Right? Even back when I was powerlifting, like I built up my personal best bench press ever. I did 445 pounds at 220 pounds body weight. So it was a double body weight bench press. That was my best ever. I did that back in 2005. And I built up to that 5 pounds at a time. Each time when I'd try to hit a new PR, it was just 5 pounds above my previous PR. And I built that up over the course of months, you know, just in a structured progressive overload fashion. So when you're in the gym training to increase any lift, but especially, you know, the bench press, 5-pound jumps, right? It bugs the crap out of me when I see guys in the gym, like, let's just say someone hits a 200-pound bench press, and then they say, oh, 200 went up easy. Let's put 225 on the bar and see what we can do, right? Because they just made this massive 25-pound jump, and then they on-rack it, and they get stapled to the bench. And then they're struggling and straining, and the spotter got it deadlifted off their chest. And, you know, that's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is they blow out their rotator cuff or they tear a pec, right? Like that's what can often happen. And that's why we see more injuries with bench presses than pretty much any other injuries. There's been more blown pecs and rotator cuffs because of people trying to bench too damn heavy. So, you know, I just want to caution you on that, right? It's right. I respect a big bench press, right? I've been there, I've done that myself, but it's like that. It's that double-edged sword, right? It's one of those exercises that can, you know, it's a love-hate relation right there. Anyway, let's move on. Who else we got joining in? SDV. Hi, Lee. You are a legend. I still remember watching your videos as a new lifter 8 to 10 years ago. Keep up the great work. I appreciate it. Thanks for the support, and thanks for sharing your comments. Much appreciated. All right, I still reminisce over those old videos every now and then, like when I'm scrolling through content or people ask me questions. A lot of times I refer back to my old videos because, like, someone might ask a question about something. I say, you know what, I made a video about that 10 years ago, and I'll share a link to it, and it's just cool to reminisce because there's so much. Like, there's over 1,000 videos on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel, and you know, when I go back over, I'm like, man. There's some good content there, right? Back in the good old days of the internet, right? The wild, wild west days, if you will. We have Sean joining in. Hello, Sean. Robert saying, "Sai, your video pull downs and pull ups, very informative." Thanks, Robert. Glad you enjoyed that video. And again, for those of you who haven't done so, after this video chat, head on over to the main YouTube channel. It's the first video there in my most recent uploads. I literally just uploaded it today, so it's brand new. But I think you'll find it very informative because it's not just about, hey, pull downs and pull ups. It really breaks down. There's a lot to unpack in that video, and I give you a bigger picture perspective of training in general, especially training for bigger guys versus smaller guys. So I think you'll find it very insightful. And that also applies to John, who had a question earlier. Go watch that pull-up video, as I mentioned, because that one will explain, you know, the reality behind more size doesn't always equal more strength in some cases. And that video really explains that and shows some real-world examples as well. I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm just going to tease it. Well, you have to go watch it yourself. All right, Mike is joining in. Good morning, Lee. Obviously, you must be from Australia or somewhere in that neck of the woods, if it's in the morning, because it's in the evening for me. So good Saturday morning to you, Mike. It says, what do you know about boron supplements to lower SHBG, which is steroid hormone binding globulin, to raise free testosterone? Some say to take it 2 weeks on, 1 week off. Honestly, I don't know. Boron used to be a popular supplement back in the day, and it was touted as a testosterone booster. Like, I'm talking back in the 90s. Like, I remember the very first bodybuilding magazines that I bought back in the 90s. Boron was listed as one of the supplements that was promoted back then. I never personally tried it myself. It's not popular. I don't see much talk about it online. Like, this question you posted here is the first time I've heard the word boron brought up in conversation in probably years. Like, it's not a mainstream product anymore. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't work or doesn't have merit or whatever, but it's not something that I have any experience with. And I'm just going to kind of do a little rant, if you will, or as my good friend Paul Miller says, it's not a rant, it's a what's he call it? Informative observation or something like that. I can't. Oh shoot, I'm drawing a blank here now. But he always has I call him a rant, and he says, no, they're not rants. He says they're insightful observations or something like that. He calls them. But when it comes to supplements, and this can apply to any supplement in general, let the real world tell you if the supplement is worth taking or not. And I'm going to give you an example of this. With supplements in general, like the supplement companies, they're in business to make money. Everybody's in business to make money, but so they'll pump out new products. And whether or not the product works is not always the top priority. It's whether the product sells, whether it actually generates a profit, very often is the biggest driver, the biggest motivator behind it. So they'll pump out all kinds of different products and say, oh, this is going to show to be, give you this and that benefit and everything else. But if it really provides benefit, the real world will give you the feedback behind it. And I'll give you an analogy of that. Think of creatine. Creatine hit the market back in the early 90s. And it's one of the few supplements that has stood the test of time, like literally back in the 90s. And it's still just as popular today, if not more popular than ever, because it actually works. There's been more scientific studies on creatine. There's been more real world feedback on it. People have used it and it actually works. Now, I'm not saying that it's a miracle product and that it's going to turn you from zero to hero, or, you're going to become Mr. Olympia because you start taking creatine or anything like that. But it shows positive results. And because it shows positive results, it has lasted the test of time and people continue to use it on a regular basis. Same would apply with some staple supplements, right, that have stood the test of time. Amino acids, for example, like they've stood the test of time. Protein powders have stood the test of time. A lot of different vitamin and minerals have stood the test of time because they work. They're legit products. They actually have real world benefits, and the people use them over and over again because of that. When it comes to a lot of these specialized supplements, it's hit or miss. And a lot of times you might see it. It was a popular supplement back in the day, but it's gone because it didn't really pan out or deliver real world results that made it last in the marketplace. So when new products hit the market, I'm not the guinea pig to go out and buy them. All right. I let the market test. And if it lasts the test of time, then I say, you know what, there might be something to this. And if you start hearing people talking about it, like at the gym or online, and people saying, hey, this really works, then it might be worth looking into. But when it comes to new products that hit the market, I'm not the first one to run out and grab them, right? I let the real world determine whether it's a valuable investment or not, right? So that's something that one lesson right there could save you a ton in wasted money on supplements if instead of going out and trying all the latest fads and trends and everything else. Because most of them, you hear it today, and it could be a bunch of advertising hype around it, and then this time next year, you don't even see talk of it anymore. Now, when it comes to boron, I don't have any real world experience. I don't even know anybody who uses boron as a regular supplement, so I can't even refer to anybody about it. It is a trace mineral, but you could probably do your own Googling on it. But quite honestly, if you really need to lower your SHBG, steroid hormone binding globulin, you could go to a TRT clinic, and talk to an endocrinologist about, proper ways to actually enhance testosterone, lower, the SHBG, and to increase your free testosterone. There's ways that can be way more effective than taking boron. I can tell you that right now. Anyway, moving on. I know, long-winded answer and didn't really answer your question, but hopefully you got some value from my informative insights there. Eagle Eye John says, Lee, I've been doing cluster sets. I'm sure I've grown 1/2 inch on arms fast. What do you think of them? Cluster sets. Honestly, there's all kinds of different set and rep patterns, and this is the way I look at it. If it's working for you, if you're enjoying it, you're getting results from it, keep doing it, right? Like every program and every training variation that you can think of goes through a phase of adapt, grow, plateau. And this is generally how it works. Like a lot of people are saying, like, what's the best program? What's the best whatever? And if you start Googling, there's going to be 100 people say, oh, this is the best program, and they could give you 100 different answers. Or this is the best set and rep pattern, and they'll give you a gazillion different answers. It's not one is superior than another. Like there is no one magic program or one magic set and rep pattern or one magic whatever. If it was, everybody'd be doing the exact same thing, and everybody'd be huge, ripped, and jacked, and we wouldn't even be having conversations like this. There's a lot of variability out there. And the way all the programs work is you're going to follow something, and it's going to be unique muscle stimulation. So you start something new, whether it's working out for the very first time, which could be your new muscle stimulation, or you try a different program, which provides unique muscle stimulation. But bottom line, you try something that your body is not accustomed to. In the process of doing that, you're going to go through the phases of adapt, grow, plateau. So while you're adapting to that new program and your body's getting adjusted to it, you're going to see some growth. The body's going to respond. You're going to grow bigger. You're going to go stronger. You're going to see some results. But eventually, that's going to start to plateau. And once it starts to plateau, meaning your body has adapted to it, the growth has happened, now things start to go stale. And then you might need to change it up and try something else. So that you could try maybe another set and rep pattern, maybe try some different exercises, or try a different training split, or whatever. Like you might go from high volume to a lower volume, higher intensity, or like there's a gazillion different ways to go about this. But you need to try something that's going to provide that unique muscle stimulation all over again, so that your body can go through the adapt, grow, plateau, and the process continues. And this is something you're going to have to be doing throughout your training journey. It's a never-ending process. And as far as the timeline, there is no set timeline for this. Like generally speaking, someone who's new to training, they're going to be able to stick to a program longer because it takes longer for their body to go through that adapt, grow, plateau. Someone who's more experienced, someone who's been doing this for years, decades, their body is much more in tune, and there's a much shorter learning curve because their technique and their ability to recruit the muscles during an exercise and their ability to get that mind-muscle connection and all this kind of stuff is at a much higher level. So they tend to go through programs faster. Like it'll be quicker for them to hit that adapt, grow, plateau phase. So where a brand new person might be able to stick to a new program for several months and make good progress before they need to change it up. Someone who's been doing this for 20 years, they might stick to it for 6 weeks and need to change it up because they'll hit that plateau. But bottom line, the simple answer, if what you're doing is working, you're enjoying it, you're seeing results, keep doing it for as long as it's working for you, right? Be in tune, monitor your progress, monitor your results and all that, monitor your strength gains. And as long as you're seeing progress, keep doing it. But as soon as that progress starts to slow, or even starts to get to the point where it feels like you're backtracking. It's like, man, I was doing this program and it was working so well. And now it feels like I'm actually even losing size, or I'm not even performing at the same level I was. That's a sign that you're hitting that plateau. Once that happens, then you need to reevaluate and adjust accordingly. And that could mean reevaluating and adjusting to something that's harder and more demanding, or it could mean doing a deload, because you've pushing the limits of your body's recovery, and now you need to back off, do a deload, go through an active recovery phase, and then build up to a higher intensity program again. And this is where having a coach in your corner, someone who's been there and done that, understands how the body works, and can look at your results and help you, guide you through this, like take you by the hand and guide you through this. And that's what we do over in the Muscle After 40 Blueprint VIP coaching program. Like, we got guys in there, and I'm working with them, following along with their progress and guiding them. So I'll say, hey, we need to change this up. We need to do something that's more demanding. Or in other cases, we say, you know what, you've been pushing it really hard for the last several weeks. We need to scale it back and give your body a chance to go through an active recovery deload phase before we start scaling up the intensity again. So it's not a cookie cutter, one size fits all answer where everyone does the same thing. It really depends on the individual. And that's where having a coach in your corner can really help. So if that's something you're interested in, feel free to reach out to me. I got my contact details down below. You can drop me an email and we can have a chat and see if we can map out an action plan that's right for you. All right, moving on. Let's see. Nick's saying, I love it. He says, they are rants, but that doesn't mean they're not good. I appreciate it. Copper saying, creatine has lasted longer than my hairline. I hear you. My hairline's starting to go back a little bit too. Like it's not terrible, but it's thinning, right? There's more grays. You can see the speckles of gray there, and it's getting thinner. That's one thing when I watch my old videos. I like, look at that full head of dark hair that I used to have, back when I was in my 20s. Where'd that go? It's evaporating. What else we got there? Republica. Good afternoon. Is walking every single day for 2 to 3 consistent hours fine, or should I consider taking a day off? It really depends what you're trying to do and what your overall goals are and blah, 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 blah. Like, I want to ideally have more context. Is it good? There's a lot of health benefits to walking, right? I mean, it's a fantastic exercise. It's fantastic from a fat loss point of view. It's enjoyable. But 2 to 3 hours every single day, that's a lot, right? If you said like an hour every single day, I'd say, yeah, absolutely. But 2 to 3 hours, like, what is it you're trying to achieve from your walking? Like, if you're really pushing for maximum fat loss and you're overweight and trying to just create a big calorie deficit from a fat loss point of view, yeah, walking is one of the best fat burning exercises you can do for a couple reasons. And I'm just going to break that down here. One, you can pretty much do it every single day relatively safely and with relatively low risk of injury. Like if you were running every day, you're probably going to start to feel the effects of running. Running's very hard on the body. It's hard on the joints, tendons, the ligaments, places a lot of impact on the body. And especially the older you get or the heavier you are, it can beat up the body. Walking, on the other hand, where it's a lower impact, not as intense, it doesn't beat up the body the same as running, and you can generally do it for longer and more consistently. So from a fat loss point of view, and especially for someone who's overweight looking to lose weight, walking is phenomenal because it's something that pretty much anybody can do and do consistently and actually get results from it, right? With a very low risk of injury. So that's the plus side of walking. And back when I was competing in bodybuilding, walking was actually my primary form of cardio because I could do walking every day along with weight training and it didn't beat me up. It didn't hinder my recovery. Whereas if I was doing running or high intensity cardio, that would hinder my recovery from the weight training. Because when you do high intensity cardio, I mean, it saps your energy, right? You feel drained afterwards, whereas walking is a gentle form of exercise. You actually feel invigorated. So it's something you can do and have that good yin and yang complementary fashion, right? Like I would do the high intensity weight training and then the low intensity walking. And I found it very complementary from a muscle building as well as a fat burning point of view. And I still follow that today. So that's the plus side of it. As far as the 2 to 3 hours, again, that's pushing it, right? But again, I'm not saying that it's right, wrong, good, or bad. It really, we had to put it into context of what it is you're trying to achieve. So if you want to elaborate in the, down in the comments below, feel free to do so. But that's my 2 cents worth for now. All right, phase 114. Hi, my pre-workout says on the label that it has creatine, and I take creatine on my off days. How reliable are these labels? I don't want to take too much. I wouldn't worry about it. First off, you can take creatine every day, right? In fact, you should take creatine every day. Creatine is one of those supplements where the timing doesn't matter. It's having a steady supply in your system. So I understand the idea behind the pre-workouts. Like a lot of them, they want to throw everything, and including the kitchen sink in there, right? So they'll have their caffeine, and they'll have their stimulants, and they'll have beta-alanine, and they'll have creatine and amino acids and whatever. Just dump all this crap together and say, we got the super duper pre-workout. The reality is creatine is not a timed supplement. It's something that you need to build up a supply in your system in order to get the benefits. Like if you've never taken creatine before and you just slam back a scoop and then go hit the gym, you're not really going to feel anything from it. Whereas caffeine, on the other hand, a stimulant, if you've never taken caffeine before and you take it, you're going to feel it pretty darn quick, right? It's a stimulant. It hits you now. Like you feel it ASAP. It's not something, though, I got to be taking caffeine for weeks on end in order for it to build up in my system before I feel it. No. Like if you're not consuming caffeine on a regular basis or similar stimulants, and then you start take it all of a sudden, you're going to feel it. Creatine's not like that. Creatine's something that has to build up in your system, and where you get the benefits is when you have creatine in your system. So it's not a time supplement. This is what I'm getting at. Like you could take it morning, noon, or night, and it doesn't matter. As long as you're taking it consistently and it builds up in your system, that's where you get the benefits of creatine. So the fact that it's in the pre-workout, there's nothing wrong with having it pre-workout, but at the same time, there's nothing special about it either, right? You could take it post-workout. You could take it first thing in the morning. You could take it last thing before you go to bed. Like as long as you take it consistently, that's what matters the most. It's almost like taking your vitamins. Like there's nothing magical about taking a multivitamin first thing in the morning or midday or in the evening. As long as you take it consistently and you have adequate vitamins in your system so you're not in a vitamin deficiency, it's going to work, right? Same thing with creatine. As long as you top up your creatine stores in your body, it's going to work. So the timing has no impact there. It's just as long as you're having it consistently. And as far as the amount, 5 grams a day is a good ballpark for most average size guys. Like if you're really big, like someone who's like a 300-pound strong man or whatever, someone who's ginormous, you might want to bump that up a bit. If you're really small, something like 150 pounds or less, you might want to scale it back. But if you're somewhere in the 200-pound range, give or take, 5 grams a day is a good ballpark to be in. And you just want to take it consistently. 5 grams a day consistently, and you'll reap the results that creatine has to offer. As far as the whole loading phase and all that, you don't need to bother with it. Like as long as you take it consistently, it's going to saturate your system and you're going to reap the benefits. And in fact, I don't recommend anybody to load, because a lot of the drawbacks or side effects from creatine comes from the loading. Because if you've never taken it before and then all of a sudden you start slamming back 20, 30 grams a day, it could cause stomach upset and bloating and digestive issues because it's a shock to the system. Whereas if you start small and you just consistently stay small and let it build up in the system naturally, you avoid a lot of those drawbacks where the bloating and the digestion issues and all that kind of stuff. So 5 grams a day is a good ballpark to shoot for. So in your case, what you want to do is just factor in, okay, how much is in the pre-workout, and then adjust it accordingly. Because I've had pre-workouts with creatine in them before, and very few of them had a full 5 gram serving in the pre-workout. Usually it was probably like in the 2 to 3 gram range. So if you're getting 2 to 3 grams in your pre-workout, then you probably want to have another 2 to 3 grams of pure creatine to get you up to that 5 gram per day range. And then on your non-workout days, just simply taking a regular 5 gram serving of creatine would be fine. Right. So you just make the best of the creatine in the pre-workout, and then the creatine that you're getting from the pure creatine powder itself, and you can still make it work. But if you're in that 5 gram per day range, that's not too much. That's fine. Right. All right, moving on. Let's see. You skipped my question. All right, I'm going to go back. I always get every time I do these video chats, someone says I skipped a question, and I go back and I don't see their question anywhere because I think someone's just screwing around with me. So Gabriel, good on you. You got me. All right. He always puts that up there. You skipped my question. And then I go back. It's not there, dude. Post it again. All right. What else? And if it really wasn't posted, then sometimes the comment filters, like if you put in a nasty word or something like that, sometimes comment filters filter it out. But all right. Let's see. What other questions have we got coming through there? And again, for those of you who are tuning in live, this is your time to shine. Actually, that's all the questions that came through there on my end. So if we are at the end, then I will get ready and clue it up. If there's no more questions, that's fine with me. I have no problem doing an early video chat. Right? I promise an hour, but I don't have to do an hour if there's no other questions coming through. And for you, Mr. Gabriel, who says I skipped your question, no, I didn't. You didn't post it, or it didn't get posted. So post it again. All right. I'm going to stretch a minute here now. Going once. Going twice. Any last questions before we clue it up for the week? Da-da-da-da. I'm waiting. No questions are being posted. Yeah. All right. Mike said I'm about to hit legs. All right. Bruce says, cheers. Have a great weekend. All right. I will, my friend. Thanks, guys. Yeah, we will get ready and clue this up. Sorry, that seems like the logical conclusion. The question stops, so do I. All right, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you did enjoy our video chat and got some value from it. And if you would like to elaborate on anything that we discussed throughout today's video chat, feel free to reach out to me. You can send me an email or you can message me through Facebook. I got my contact details down below there. And I also encourage you to sign up for the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group. We've got a free Facebook group where you can chat, and it's a great way to stay in communication. Like, I love YouTube for what it is. I mean, it's obviously great from a YouTube video platform, but it's not a great two-way communication platform. And that's why I like Facebook, because it is a two-way conversation. So if you haven't already done so, join us over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group. Join the community. There's over 1,000 members there, and we have some good conversations and discussions through that group. And I got a lot of bonuses and goodies there as well. So you sign up for the group, and there's a bunch of different PDF programs that you can download as a freebie as well. So if you haven't already done so, follow us over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group. And in the meantime, have yourself a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to having a conversation with you next week. So hang on now. Let me see. Actually, next week, there will not be a live Q&A on Friday. Because I'm actually going to be heading out of town for a bicycle event. It's not a race, it's a sportive event, but I'm going to be out of town next Friday. So just give you a heads up for those of you who are regulars. Next Friday, there will not be a live Q&A, but we'll resume the Friday afterwards, right? I normally do these every Friday with few exceptions, and next week is going to actually be one of those exceptions. So just give you a heads up. But in the meantime, join us over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group, and we'll keep the conversation going there. All right. Have yourself a great one, and I look forward to talking to you in my next video. Take care. Over and out. Done.